Hey guys, welcome to my long-term review of the Wechsel Exogen 2-person tent. So I bought the tent about 12 months ago, and over the last year I've used it well over a dozen trips, including 2 bikepacking trips. So I thought it was time to give you my view on the long-term use of it. Although I used the tent for over a dozen times in the last 12 months, most times the conditions were quite mild. However, that changed when I took the tent to a recent trip in Tasmania. During the trip I had some really heavy rain and strong wind. And those conditions provided an excellent test for the tent. I'm not going into too much detail about the features of the tent. I got a different review video of that. But in generally it is a self-standing or self-supporting tent. And that was a very important feature when I had to pitch a tent on a rock shelf. I could not use the tent pegs and only rock to anchor the tent. So that was a great benefit of having the tent supporting itself. In terms of its wind resistance, maybe to cut into that one straight away, it actually performed extremely well and probably better than I thought it would. It has only 4 main guy lines, but they did a good job. I did used some paracord to create some additional guy lines, but they obviously using the same guy points. In terms of pitching the tent, that has been a breeze. It's very quick. You do have to pitch the inner tent first, and then you're using clips to basically erect the tent. In terms of waterproofness, again it performed extremely well. I had some really hard wind with rain and nothing leaked through. Well, that said, some of the rain made it through the vent and through the mesh, causing some light spray on the floor of the tent. So one thing I was really impressed with was the waterproofness of the floor. So on that particular campsite on the rock shelf on the Mount End circuit, I had water running under the tent. And I expected it to leak through to the inside of the tent, but none of it did. So really impressed with that. So the tent is 1.9 kilograms, really nice weight. At no point it felt bulky or heavy. It packs away actually quite small as well. So weight and size has never been an issue. As I mentioned earlier, I also used the tent for 2 bikepacking trips. Its lightweight, compact size and space makes it an ideal tent for bikepacking. Now I had to replace this pole. I had to create a new one because I lost the original one. I posted a separate video where I actually cut that pole to length and tested out. So if you're interested, I put the link in the description of this video. In terms of the space in the vestibule, it's just okay. I can definitely stow stuff away and I can cook here as well. In most cases I put my pack and equipment inside the tent, specifically when I'm by myself. I've got enough space in the tent. So this is just for the boots, maybe some wet gear and cooking. The inside is, I would say basic. There are no specific features really to call out, other than you have some really good ventilation. We got see-through mesh on either end of the tent and on the sides as well. You can't close it, so be mindful of that. But in my experience, the inner tent is warm enough. It retains the heat somewhat, and it blocks the wind from coming in most cases. So you've got a nice pocket here on the head end. Now this tent is sold as a 2-person tent, but it is more a spacious single-person tent. Otherwise there's nothing else to point out that stands out. I'm just generally extremely happy with the tent. I'm glad I bought it. Of all the options that I looked at before I made a purchase decision, I think this is probably the best you can get for the price point. So I paid 450 Australian dollars for this tent. If you want to get something comparable from brands like Terra Nova or maybe even Nordisk or Lilleberg, obviously you pay twice as much. Arguably they might be a little bit stronger in terms of performance and wind, I get that, but this is doing a really good job. So yes, and generally I would recommend this tent if you are looking in buying a new tent and considering this Wechsel Exogen 2. I would definitely recommend though to buy the 2-person tent and not the 1-person one. I think there's only 150-200 grams or so difference in weight, but with the 2-person you do get a bit more space, so little trade-off of weight gives you a bit more space. But guys, that's all for now. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope it was informative. Any comments, questions, please drop them in the comment section and I will reply to you. And I would love to have you as a subscriber to the channel. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Ciao.